Alright, so I wanted to put together a little tutorial that shows you why would you want to use InDesign instead of Illustrator, and let's look at some of the more powerful things that we can do in InDesign. So I'm going to set a new document to print, and I'm going to change this to inches so it'll be a little more clear for you what's going on. Here you can see there's pages, which page you want to start on. We're going to set the number of columns to 2. Let's do 3 actually. Do 2. So you can see what is going to happen here. And we're going to set the column gutter to 1/2 inch. The margins are the outer parts of the page. We'll set them to 1/4 inch because that should work for most printers. And we'll go ahead and click Create. Now you'll notice that there's a big gap in between here, and that was the gutter that we wanted to do between the 2 columns. So when I create a rectangle, I can use those guides right there to make sure they're exactly lined up. Okay, so let's say that you have you're not using those, and you're going to use instead, like, you're going to put them like this. I want you to create a couple of rectangles, make them black, and let's put them kind of all the way down here. We'll just throw them down like that. All right, now how do you get these things lined up? Well, if you go into your alignment tool, which is under Window and then our object layout, we're going to choose Align. What you find is if you did this, they'll line up right in the center of the page. But if we change this alignment to the selection, we can have them line up to each other. And then I'll just nudge them over with the arrow keys, and then they'll, well, actually I can have them line up to the margins on the left side, and now they'll be lined up that way. But they're not distributed equally. So let's say that we wanted them to be distributed equally. We'll align them to the selection, and we'll choose this, and that'll make sure that they're equally distributed. So now you have the option, the ability to make sure everything is completely evenly spaced. And we could do the same thing if we put them over here as well. We could select both of these squares and distribute them. Well, they're already distributed equally, but if we had like a third one, let's say, we could take all 3 of these and distribute them that direction equally. And then if I wanted to align them to the top, I could set this again to my margins and align them to the top this way. So go ahead and do that, and if I went too fast, just go ahead and pause it and look back. Okay, so I'm going to delete these guys right here. We're going to try a couple new other things. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a text box, but I'm going to create it my own way. So I'm going to create a diagonal kind of text box like this. And now if you switch the text tool and you type, you can go like that, and it'll, well, you'll see what happens. But let's make it easier on ourselves. Let's go to type, and we're going to fill with placeholder text. And now you can see what that would look like. If we get rid of the stroke, you can see how it's going to look like on the page, and you can tap W and you see it comes out like that. But let's say that we let's create another text box. You just use the text tool right there. Let's say that we have a bunch of filler text right here. Fill with placeholder text. And then you wanted to make this text box smaller, and you wanted the text to continue down here. Because you're going to put something, let's say we take a black rectangle and we stick it in between them. Push that one down. Well, what we can do to get this text to continue is we can click on this button right here. Double click on it. And it'll actually give you the rest of your text. Oops. Try that again. You click and drag on the... Nope, I'm wrong. I'm just forgetting how to do this. Okay, so you double click here. No. You click once on it, and then you can draw another text box, and it'll actually continue what you do here. So if I type some more words, you see that it'll affect that text box down there as well. And then if we want to give ourselves a little bit of a gutter, you can give yourself a little bit of gap right there. And to make sure that they're equally distributed, we can just, again, distribute our objects to each other, selection. And now everything's going to be evenly spaced. Okay, although that doesn't look evenly spaced. I don't know what I did wrong. Distribute like that. It seems like it's a little low, but oh well. Okay, so now, and again, if you wanted to do that, you could click on this and draw another text box right here, so your text could spell it that way. And again, if you type up here, it'll start to affect both of these text boxes as I run out of room. So another reason why this is such a powerful program is that. Now you also need to know that sometimes you want to distribute your text differently. So we could center it. We could push it to the left. You could even do this one, which allows you to justify your lines. And what that does is it pushes the text to both sides. And sometimes that can be a good choice. It'll often make hyphenations like this, which is something you probably don't want. And I am forgetting how to adjust your hyphenizations right now, but we can go over that later in the future. I know there's a way to make it so that that does not happen, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. All right, I also wanted to go over, let's see, these things right here, the space between them, that's called your alleys, and you want to make sure that that's consistent. So you don't want to have those like that, and then these are kind of a little bit further spaced out. As much as possible, you want to make those consistent. And there is probably a better way to do this, but here's what I would do. I would come in with a rectangle, or I'll make it a square so it's perfectly even, and I'll use shift to make sure I'm right where I need to be so it lines up perfectly. I'll fill that in yellow, get rid of the stroke. And what I can, oops, yeah, it doesn't quite go all the way, so let me just hold down shift, get it right on that blue line here and here. And that's going to tell me that's the space between those objects. And if we get rid of the stroke on these guys, you can see that lines up perfectly. Now I can take this and stick it here, and let me get rid of the stroke on that one. Now I know that I need to go a little bit more this way, so that it's the same space, alley, between those two. And then we can do the same thing to this one, and it looks like it's already there. So everything looks nicely distributed. I can do the same thing here. Take that and just make it right up there. Bring that one right over. And we'll pull that one as well. You could even make that bigger if you wanted to do that. Okay. Let's say this text box right here is a little too, just keep adding text so that it spills over there. Let's say it's a little too low. How are we going to fix that? Remember, you can do the distribute objects on the top edge, and they will not distribute, I'm sorry, align on the top edge, and they'll line up right there. Now, if you wanted this one to go down to there, I think if you select, whichever one you select first, I think that's the one they're going to align to. No, I'm sorry. I guess it just takes the highest one. That makes sense. And if you wanted them on the bottom, it would take, you'd click that one to get the lowest one. And you can also place pictures in weird shapes. So if you had like this, and you wanted to put a picture in it, what you can do is you can find a picture of like a, I don't know, I'm just going to get a guy laughing. And I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to not just paste it with the selection tool, but I'm going to paste it into, and that'll put it right there. And of course you can use this circle right here to shrink it down. With the, remember though, it's got to be orange. The blue one is going to be the frame itself, and then you can get that to fit in any shape that you want. And this is really the power of this program. If you're looking kind of blurry, you can change your display performance to high quality. That'll clean it up on the edges. Get rid of the stroke on that so we just have a nice clean image. And you can tap W to see how it's all going to look in the end. And you can see that everything looks nice and organized. And that's really the power of this program. Just checking my notes to see if I missed anything. I think that's it. There's going to be later on we can learn about how to, if you take this and you put it on top of here, how we can get the text to kind of flow around it, but I'm not going to go over that just yet. All right, thanks for watching.